All right, welcome in everybody. Welcome, welcome. Glad you are here. It is the first Wednesday of the month. That means it is HR Lunch Bunch. I am your hostess, your moderator, your facilitator. I am Deborah Jeffries with HR Answers, and we've been doing this for decades now, and glad that you are here. I was just sharing with folks before we hit the official record button. We had over 50 RSVPs for today, and I believe that we will have some folks slowly tracking in. I want to confirm that you can see the screen. I did a screen share, and so that should be up for everybody. If you are a first timer to HR Lunch Bunch, why don't you give me an emoji or write the word first in the chat box. This is the chat box is open for your communication uh, offering. We also gladly accept unmuting oneself. And you're more than welcome to chat. Just to give you kind of a heads up, HR Lunch Bunch again has been going on for a couple of decades, and we used to meet in person before the pandemic. And this really is intended to be a discussion. So sometimes we have a guest that joins us, sometimes we do not. Today it's just me and you, all of you. And so this is intended to be a discussion where you can learn from each other and be able to ask each other questions. What's working in your organizations? What's not? What have you tried? What's been your experiences? We generally have majority of folks are HR. Sometimes it's managers and supervisors. Sometimes it's business owners. Majority of people are from the state of Oregon, but they come from all over because I post this. Furthest I think I've had is from Ohio. So never know if we're all on the West Coast or not. So I encourage you to put in the chat where you're from. Organizations of all sizes, public sector, private, not for profit. So let us know where you're from if you're able and willing to communicate in that fashion. So many of you I know by looking at the screen. So I'm glad to see you. Glad you're here. For those of you who do not know me and you put the fact that you're first, again, my name is Deborah Jeffries. I work here at HR Answers and have for quite some time. I serve as the vice president of the company. And this actually, Lunch Bunch, was created by one of our employees many, many years ago. And she didn't want it to go away, but she was departing. And so I said, I will take over. It's kind of a pet project. It's probably my second child of sorts because I really enjoy connecting with all of you. But I'm an educator, I'm a trainer, I'm a facilitator. I love learning a lot. I love learning a lot, a lot. And so this helps me, and I hope it helps you. But again, it's intended to be a discussion. Now, I always have slides. I always will share the slides with you afterwards. If something comes up post program, or I should rather say during the program, I will share information post program. If you find the discussion valuable, you can always go back and watch again. You can listen again because we do record this. It will be posted on our YouTube. We will send you a note out that says the recording is available. And again, I'll follow up with slides or any supplemental information. If you have resources to share, I encourage you to list them in the chat and then I can capture those and I can send those out to people post program again. So I know I've already said it. Welcome. Glad you're here. Two, discussion. Yes, I've said that again. It really is intended to be. Love to have you have the cameras on so I can see your lovely faces. I don't care if you're having a bad hair day. I am, but you can't see it because it's all back here, hiding up in a dew, so to speak. Chat box is open. I see that people are using that. And feel free to use the microphone and let's have some fun as we're doing this as we go along. All right, sound good? Who's ready? Put in the chat box. Ready! Or give me an emoji. You know how to use the emojis, right? All right, there we go. Thank you, Robin. Shalene, I appreciate it. All right, there we go. There's some enthusiasm. All right. So my first question to you, because I like interactive. If you don't know me, I like interaction, communication, right? So when I say emojis, put them in. Say a word in the chat box, give it to me. Pretty please. All right. So psychological safety, what is it? Now, I'm going to ask you, how would you define it? What else would you put in here? right? Because I don't know if you know this, but this actually, I mean, we can thank Google. uh, I don't know if we want to thank Google often, but we can thank Google for kind of bringing this to the forefront. And actually, 2016 is where it kind of hit popularity. But there was a woman by the name of Amy Edmondson that really started this off, and she was from the Harvard Business School. And she's the one who kind of said, let's talk about this a little bit. Let's be more broad in our definition. And in regards to that, she was the one who's kind of been quoted time and time. So she's kind of the founding person, as it were. But this is, are we creating a climate for people who are able to express themselves? And in doing so, that there is it safe for them to take that risk? So, you know, I think that when we think about high performing teams, when we think about um, people sharing concerns, um, don't we want high performing teams? Don't we want to know stuff? Aren't we looking for good ideas? Aren't we looking for a climate where people feel comfortable coming to work, being at work, being themselves? I mean, you guys tell me. And here's my question. Now, again, if this is your first time with me, I ask a lot of questions in this program because it's not about Deborah doing a presentation. Deborah does a lot of those. Deborah teaches classes left, right, and otherwise. Many of you have been in my programs. So this is an opportunity again for discussion. What creates psychological safety in your workplace? Feel free to put some notes in the chat box. Unmute yourself. What creates psychological safety in your workplace? Put some keywords, description, give you a chance to type some things. What would you put along with that? Ah, Jacqueline, I think that's a key word right there. It's trust your work, the people that you work with, right? To be able to share that opinion. And especially if it's not a popular one, that it's going to be okay. And these are my words, that people aren't going to do the eye roll or the heavy sigh or make fun of you or right. And Sarah, I think you make a good point in terms of what is the company culture? What have we said? What is it that we role model or walk the talk, um, reinforce in terms of that culture? And that's everybody. And culture starts at the top and works its way down, right? Um, Heather, I like your word accepting, right? Accepting of the different personalities, the different ways people show up, right? And so, are we culturally competent? Are we accepting? Are we offering a sense of belonging to people? Um, so, Shalene, you say moved from a large company to a smaller one. I bet that was a change, right? Oh, the president and the vice president sat in the lunchroom. So they were like accessible. Maybe not only accessible, maybe they were even available. Um, and so being able to, that sends like a different message. I'm depending on their demeanor, I'm one of you. I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like you do, and I eat lunch just like you do. Robin, managers and owners being available to help build good relationships with open doors, right? And so let's face it, when things start getting tense, when um, when there are more meetings or private meetings, when doors are closed, when people are not at the same place that their calendar might say that they are, or you can't ever find them, people start to think something's going on, something's up, something's weird. And then speculation and gossip and all that kind of fun stuff, right? Um, oh, Stephanie, when leadership has worked through personal traumas, right? And maybe with therapy or not. What is that sounding like, looking like? How open are they in terms of sharing? Nice, you guys, nice. So, um, I think that, empathy is being said in there in the chat. trust, compassion, collaboration, listening, grace, giving it, being able to maybe even receive it. So I don't know how many of you are HR professionals, how many of you might be managers, supervisors. I know at least one of you on here is the business owner. So, like I said, we usually attract a lot of different levels of responsibility. So, this also, I think, is like what's our level of confidence in our work, in our job? How long have we been doing it? When you think about your employees, who's new, sometimes, in fact, I just had a gal, so I'm doing a emotional intelligence series. We've done class one already. One of the gals shared with me that um, she's very confident in her body of work that she does. But when it comes to herself or expressing herself, getting her point of view across, she's not very confident. She's not very comfortable, that there's a disconnect between the two. And so for her, self confidence is a big deal. I could see this being part of our conversation. Um, People pointing fingers, the blame game, or a sense of shame coming from different angles or different scenarios, right? So, in some respects, some of what you guys are putting up here, and maybe even what's on this slide, some of this is an element of some skills in the level of comfort of doing that, or that we've been reinforced that it's okay to do that, or the way in which we did it was acceptable or professional, um, that it's okay. And and so asking questions or owning mistakes, being responsible for our mistakes. Is it okay to respectfully disagree with people inside your workplace? So, what do you think about the words on this slide? Is this match up with some of the vocabulary in your workplace or what your managers and supervisors are reinforcing to the employee base? You can say yes or no or give me an emoji. And just because we might disagree, that doesn't mean that we reject somebody or punish them. Oh, Stephanie. Yeah, simple doesn't always mean easy, right? And the fact, I like your comment. Some have these maybe learned these skills as adults, and some when we were much younger, right? And I think that you bring up an interesting observation just in general. It doesn't have to be about psychological safety. In general, what skills did we learn when we were younger, and how were they reinforced and by whom? And that was okay. And then that carries us into adulthood, and we're using them. And then we get to the workplace, and is it reinforced, or does it become questioned? Versus I'm now needing to learn these skills as an adult in the workplace because it never was okay or acceptable, or no one ever reinforced that or taught me that or something. I mean, it could kind of go both ways, right? Everything that was comfortable or normal or whatever, it's like, we don't do that here. That's not okay here. Or just in my last workplace, it was, and getting a read or getting a vibe on the current workplace, right? So I know that bringing people's full selves, I remember one gal sharing with us at a program, I think it was at the National SHRM Conference, Society for Human Resource Management, for those of you who don't know SHRM. Um, she was sharing a story about her applying for a job, getting very excited about the job offer after going through several interviews. And when she had the phone call with somebody. They were suggesting to her that um, here's the job offer. I'm very excited. And we would like you to tone down your attire or clothing. We would like you to consider your hair. We'd like you to. And so, what was started out as very much excitement, looking forward to, she ended up saying no at the end of the conversation. And they were like, I'm sorry. I think something is getting kind of lost in translation. We were just talking about. She goes, yes. And over the course of the last several minutes, you've just asked me to change three things about myself. What part of me are you hiring? She called it out right there and then that she was not going to be able to bring her full self. So, are there some things inside your organization that might be happening that might be informing people that it's not safe to quote, share, to ask, to be oneself? Are there some behaviors? And what might those look like? And again, please unmute, talk, give me some notes in chat. Ah, manager made fun of an idea. Oh, so much so that you discontinued being part of the committee. Hmm, that's not good. Okay, so it's a construction environment, probably highly male dominated, I'm guessing. And oh, Sarah's weighing in. Okay, that's your environment. That's not necessarily the other person's environment. Okay. But yeah, if we're in a highly male dominated and we're female, um, are our opinions considered, respected? Do they think we know what we're talking about? What does that look like, sound like, feel like? Ah, confident way of expressing things, making that make a that that make adding a different perspective awkward. Others talk over people. Yes. And sometimes it's just rude. Sometimes it might be a form of dominance. Sometimes people can't have self-regulation. They just have to get their stuff out there, right? Because they might actually, and this is, I know this to be true with some people, that they're afraid they're going to forget what they need to say or want to say. So they just get it out there. And what they don't realize is the impact, keyword, impact that it's having on others. And so it's, they don't think it's a big deal, but it's the hidden message potentially, or the, could you understand how someone else might view that differently? And the answer is no. And I need you to, right? So the, in that respects, if I might go there for a quick moment, the self-awareness isn't there that someone could have a different thought about how that came across. And so that's something then to perhaps have a conversation about because they're not seeing it. They're not putting themselves in someone else's shoes. Okay. Love those observations. Anything else that, quote, could be going on? Or maybe it's not even happening here now for you, someplace else that you've worked, or stories you've heard from friends and family. I mean, I get lots of stories from others. Is this where you want me to regale you with all my stories? So some of the things that have been shared with me, is it again, the eye rolling or people working in silos. right? How many of you have silos? How about the gossiping, right? Works for people who are very cagey about finances, right? And some businesses, I mean, I've worked with organizations very open book management. We know everything. And I've worked with organizations that don't tell you hardly anything, and so you don't know, and so you're watching other behaviors or other decisions or lack of decision making taking place. And so then you're kind of wondering what's going on. Um, Sometimes finances can have a role in people feeling territorial, right? So if we've got salespeople or um, we've got people who've talked with a customer or a potential client, and it's like hands off, they're mine, right? Speaking of hands off or too much hands on. What about micromanagement? Is that happening at all in your workplace or with one or two supervisor manager types? That could be a potential unsafe element, lack of trust, right? Um, Bullying, lack of information share, lack of inclusion, um, uh, bullying, nepotism, little cliques going on, lack of transparency. I think there's some themes here emerging, right? So paying attention to some of those things and really, in some respects, I think we can, if we were having a little bit more of kind of some curious conversations with our employees about feelings, and feelings are kind of sticky and not everybody likes to talk about them, but that's the kind of thing is, you know, then what's going on for people? What if we turn this around a little bit and turn the mirror towards you, because many of you are HR. If you're HR, give me an emoji. Give me an emoji or put yes in the box. How many of you are HR? I got Sonia and Jenny, Sonia. All right, there's Stephanie. Okay, got some HR people with me. Okay, well, what creates the psychological unsafe for you as an HR person? What does that look like? Or what does that feel like? Heather, I love it. HR-ish. I'm ish. Is that like some days you are and some days you aren't? Like you pick and choose, you feel it? I'm just giving you a hard time. Okay. So I love it. Mainly payroll with a minor in HR. Okay. Um, as a manager, I have to micromanage when work is not getting done. Okay. Um, Maybe I need to separate training on this. My style, however, is to be hands off as much as possible and let competent people do their jobs. Uh-huh. See, and I think part of that also, Brenda, is thinking about, yeah, competent people do their job. We're supposed to be hiring good people, right? Train them in the areas where the training needs to be, showing them something, and then let them fly. I'm one where I'm about setting expectations, self accountability, right? Empowerment, trust, and verify that things are getting done. And if we're self accountable, then you're letting me know if there's challenges, issues, or concerns. So I don't always have to be sitting on you, sitting next to you. I don't always have to check in you. Sometimes people have used the word babysitting, and the answer is no. I need to I need to turn that around. I need to view that differently. My vocabulary might need to be different in that regards. So, um, yeah, the stress of firing people and being able to, not show that at work and don't want to take it at home. So the job is very demanding. And I had someone the other day, was it last week, maybe the week before, telling me, you don't want to have a conversation with HR. HR is bad. And I said, see, wait a second. See, when you have a not so good reputation inside the organization, HR, then what you're doing is you're saying all HR is like that. That one person that you encountered is not indicative of the entire profession. And the answer is, I'm sorry that that happened, or I'm sorry that they were not as communicative, or didn't do a good job of listening, or they didn't pay attention to enough. But I promise you, they're not all like that. And HR is not bad. HR is actually quite good and can really help with some stuff. And so she has a very bad experience, and she has labeled us all, and we're all on the naughty list. And so being able to kind of think about what does that look like? And so when we think about an unsafe, quote unquote, psychological workplace, is it something we are doing, we aren't doing? But at the same turn, what is making it unsafe for us to speak up or share the ideas or to come forward with stuff, right? And so, yeah, we need to be getting management, the collective, in terms of we're in this together. And so I'm reading the chat. Uh, it's good to have some fun, but it can go too far, right? And so how do we reel it in? How do we reel it in before it becomes unsafe? I just saw a thing on social media that said Netflix asked, we want to have bonding experiences. Tell us something personal about yourself. Well, then employees did. And then it was too personal, and then it all went awry. And it's like, okay, there's a balance in there of connecting, a sense of belonging, a sense of team, and yet we're not looking for people's deepest, darkest secrets. That's not it, right? So when we talk about Stephanie, your note here in terms of being HR being devalued and not being seen as necessary unless something goes wrong or something is bad. So compliance kinds of things, right? Um, but yeah, we're trying to make things preventative, being proactive. Um, and then the blame game, if those suggestions aren't taken, we didn't move forward and something happens. Yeah, exactly. And so then it's kind of we can't win for losing. Um, Robin, you said being the principal, as in being the principal, as in ownership principal. Is that what you mean? Or are you giving it a name, being the principal as in high school? Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Okay, I'm just like, right? And the answer is, do we have to? We don't have to be the bad cop. We can actually be the yes people. Yes, I mean, in all sincerity, this is no joke. People have come to me and say, I want to fire this person. It's like, yes, we can do that. We absolutely can do that. Let's walk through what that looks like. Walk, 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 walk. And you're educating them along the way. And then say, so if we do that, it could look like this or this. And then the supervisor's like, well, wouldn't then an attorney want to? You're right. So maybe it's not time to do that yet. Or, yes, we absolutely can do that. Now, if we do that, we would have to consider non-compliance with the state of Oregon here. But you know what? Lots of people are not in compliance. So, what would happen if we didn't do that? But the idea is that say yes to everything. And I know some of you are like, no, Deborah, I'm not doing that. Say yes to everything and educate them and walk them through what that could look like, what that could mean, and see if they get what kind of risk or how much money are they willing to put their name on it? Not your name, their name, because it's what they want to do. A little reverse psychology, but the idea is if we're trying to create a psychologically safe place, do they feel safe with those decisions, or are they trying to put things on us? Because I think sometimes to all of your guys' comments, right? Blaming is a place where it's unsafe for us. Misinformation, favoritism, even lack of inclusion. If you're not, quote, a seat at the table, are you management? Are you employee friendly? You don't have a home. Where do you belong? Right? People love to put everything on HR. You're supposed to be the morality keeper. You're supposed to plan the functions. You're supposed to be the compliance keeper. You're supposed to keep morale high. What? be strategic. So, who do employees blame for psychologically unsafe workplaces? Now, I'm not looking for you to say HR, okay? Who collectively, individually, inside the entire organization, then are employees looking to point the finger at? Who have they pointed the finger at inside your workplace? Nobody wants to say. You know they're not watching or listening, right? Right, Sonia? It's the executive leadership, it's the board, right? They make the decisions, it's their fault, right? Management in general, their fault, it's them, whoever them is, right? They didn't know that somebody was unhappy. They didn't know the employees were unhappy, right? That's Heather, yeah, supervisor sets the tone. I would tell you all the way to the top. Who's setting the tone and where does it come? Culture starts at the top. So, do we trust our highest executive? What are they doing? What are they saying? How do they come across? How are they connecting with people? Is there a sense of connection, belonging? Is there a sense of trust? So, Stephanie, who is causing the issues? Are they outside influences? Are they outside issues? Are we creating our own issues? Are we willing to talk about things? Or is it in some respects the things we don't talk about, the things we're not willing to discuss, even things we don't give a name to? I'm big on if we can name it, even if it's uncomfortable, if we can name it, we can talk about it. But if it's this nebulous thing and we can't name it and we don't talk about it, it's still gonna hover over us. Like even the stuff we sweep under the carpet, right? So we can point fingers at all kinds of people. So it's good when we have people who can hear it and see it and willing to, quote Robin, get in the weeds with us, right? How do we turn this around? Are we in this together, right? Because pointing fingers isn't going to solve the challenge at all. How do you think your employees are responding? What is their behaviors? What are their moves if it's an unsafe place to be, to work? What are you seeing? What have you seen? Maybe what are you hearing from people? What are the behaviors you would put in this box, quote unquote? Secretly look for jobs. And it might not even be so secret, depending, right? Gossip, the clicks, the disconnecting, right? The disengagement, right? I don't I don't need this. I don't need to be here. I don't need to put up with all this. What else would we add to that list? Come on, you guys are on the front line, so to speak, aren't you? Yep. Calling out sick, you betcha. And then how does that impact that ripple effect, right? Because is it just one? Is it multiples? I've had people who have been in my supervisor series class who send me an email the morning of saying, Deborah, I can't come to class today because I have 3 people who called out. So I've got to cover. Like, ouch. Yeah, Brenda, I think so. People can become defensive, right? And it's normal. I mean, our brains are here to protect us. So it's always going to be about, quote, self-preservation, safety. And so the answer is I become defensive. I want to protect myself. I want to stick up for myself, right? And so maybe it's uncomfortable to discuss things, or maybe I have tried to discuss them and nobody's listening. Or I've tried several times, several ways, and it's not matching up. So now I give up. Well, I think the workplace has changed, Robin, in a variety of ways, right? And on one hand, I think people have become more emboldened in saying or doing things, but at the same time, I think people have found it easy to retreat and to hide and not be out there as much for a variety of things. And so I think there are still some people who are trying to bounce back post COVID and figure out how to navigate things. I know when it comes to workshops or conferences or programming or getting together in person, people are still trying to figure out what's the magic spell, what's the magic bullet that will work for how to make those things successful for everybody, because everybody's wants or needs or expectations are different when it comes to that. So, if people are withdrawing, if people are calling others out, others, um, if people are quitting or people just run the other direction in general, they don't want to address anything at all, the gossip, right? Um, the quiet quitting kinds of things, let alone the calling out sick, the absenteeism, the tardiness. And this is the kinds of things, if we think about these things inside your organization, are you talking to your managers and supervisors about what they should be paying attention to? Those of you who are managers and supervisors, are you making some notations about, are we seeing any trends, right? In terms of, are you seeing something from just a couple of people or lots of people? Are you getting together as managers and supervisors, whether you're close together in one location or multiple locations? Are we seeing any patterns of something going on? So, is that something we should talk about as managers and supervisors being concerned? The call I was on this morning, the program I was doing this morning, was one gal said, in her business, they have it's a trucking company, but they also have a couple hotels and a couple of retail spaces. I mean, they are very expansive in their operation, and they have different kinds of employees doing different kinds of work. Well, what they're finding is they've got long-term employees that have been there like 10 years or more, but there's a high level of like disengagement. Yeah, they show up, but they're not really all there. They do the work, but the quality of work is not that great. It's kind of suffering. So, what's going on for these people? And so it's time to have some serious kind of conversations. So, if a manager said to someone in all seriousness, "Hey, can you hop on a quick call?" and the employee's first thought is like, "Am I getting fired? Am I in trouble? Can it wait? Now what? I don't have time." Fill in the blank. Those are different kinds of thought processes and responses. But the unsafety element is like, me? Why me? Why now? That negativity bias hits, right? And that's your brain wanting to kind of protect you, but it's like, how will they respond? As opposed to, "Oh, yes, of course. Happy to. When can we get together?" Big difference. So that, I mean, honestly, that in and of itself might be a great question to take back to the workplace and ask your key people. If someone said to you, can you hop on a quick call, quick video chat? Can you stop by my office? What's the first gut reaction? Is it a negative or is it a you betcha? That might tell us something. Because when we think about back to psychological safety and kind of our definition, right? And we talked about trust and that climate of respect. One of the things is that sense of belonging and connection. Kind of Maslow has his hierarchy of needs. Um, Dr. Timothy Clark, Stages of Psychological Safety, is we've got this element of these levels of, and take it back to the team, take it back to the department. Um, is there inclusion safety? Do I feel that my basic need, Maslow's hierarchy, do I belong? Is there a sense of connection? When you have a brand new employee, they said yes to the job. They said yes to you. Now, when I get here, is that reinforced? Do I fit in? Am I connecting? Are people reaching out to me? Does this feel comfortable? Or are these all these clicks and do I feel like I'm back in high school, right? What is that like for that new employee? What's that onboarding process? Did people like say welcome or was it baptism by fire? Here you are and get on in. What is that like? When you think about quote learner safety, is there opportunities to learn and grow? Can we exchange information? Is there processes and procedures? Is it okay to ask questions? If I truly don't know something, is it okay to like experiment? I'm getting and giving feedback, right? Truly, is it okay to make mistakes? If someone makes a mistake, how is how's the manager or supervisor responding to that? What's their first words or their body reaction to someone making a mistake? The tone of the voice. That tells someone about the level of safety that's involved. Now we've talked about it like, can I contribute, right? I want to offer up something and make a difference. My skills, my abilities. Truly, people want to feel seen and heard and valued for their contribution and making, recognized for their achievements. Well, when it's a contributor element, am I contributing? Do I know that what I'm doing is making a difference? Showing up every day, does it make a difference? Does it matter? Does anybody say anything to me? I mean, it's easy to call out sick because nobody cares if I'm here. Nobody even notices if I'm gone. I think that also makes a difference. And then the challenger safety is, can I challenge the status quo? When people say, we've always done it this way, don't mess with it. If it ain't broke, there's nothing to fix, right? So are we trying to make things better? Is it okay to speak up? Is it okay to raise your hand? Or have I watched things, how everybody else is behaving? So these are the four kind of stages, and I would encourage you to, if you don't already know those, to kind of take those back or to kind of take that in and say, okay, first of all, how am I doing with any of those? But then how am I responding, not reacting? Hopefully you're responding in these four categories. What does that look like? And maybe top of mind awareness, making this a little bit sticky, start watching this week, next week. Listen, watch what's going on inside your workplaces with people. Is there an area here to work on? Because in all seriousness, we're choosing a thought. like, from our brains, right? Our thoughts inform our feelings, which inform our behaviors and then inform results. Again, the behaviors. And we focus on results. We tend to focus on results. Now, apply this to performance management, right? Behavior-based interview, internal investigations. So again, we're choosing a thought. Our thought informs our feelings inform our behaviors, which create results. And it's an ongoing process over and over and over again. So if you just hold on to this cognitive behavior model and watch things through this lens in the workplace, what's happening? How's that looking? How's that feeling for people? Because if we're hearing, I remember somebody sharing in one of my classes, sat in the back of the room, and he shared that um, worked for a credit union, and the he was 4 days in, and everybody that he worked with said, "You do not want to get called in to the supervisor's office. If you get called into the office, you're in trouble. Not going to look good. It's going to go badly." And he was like, "What?" And he got called in, and he was sweating profusely. Well, here's the deal. His supervisor had also come to my class and learned that the unwritten rule was you get called to my office, you're in trouble. And I said, you got to stop that. You got to break that stuff up. You got to start calling them in and telling them good stuff and giving them good feedback. He was all nervous. He was sweating profusely because he was getting called in and he's like, I'm afraid of the feedback. Well, as opposed to, I welcome the feedback, right? The rest of the employees' unwritten message was peppering this new employee with now not accurate information because the supervisor changed it up. But the supervisor never said, hey, I've become aware of something and I'm going to change things up. Or have you heard, well, I'm not the boss. It's not my meeting. So I don't speak up. I don't want to get fired. Do I tell my truth? So who on your team within your departments that you're working with, who's struggling? Who's struggling right now? Do you know? So I ask you to kind of think about that and who needs some extra who needs some extra time? Who needs some conversation? Who needs some coaching? Who needs some support? Because who's responsible for the psychological safety in your workplace? Not a rhetorical question. Unmute, put it in the chat. Who's responsible? Right? In some respects, you're right. We all are. I think it has to start with leadership because that we're going to watch. We're going to see if it is meaningful, if they mean it, right? And in a lot of respects, me, you, we've got to start it. We got to role model it, right? You can only control what you can control, and you can control you, and this definitely can start. And I don't care what your role is, right? So when we think about different ways that we can do that, right? I think you have to make it a priority. We have to put it out there. We have to talk about it. We've got to not have it be a quote hidden agenda or it's assumed. We got to put it right out there, make sure everybody understands what it is and why it is, right? And yeah, it's not quote HR when I say me. I just mean you as an individual, right? It can start with you and making sure when people come to you. So like that woman that I was talking to, I mean, this wasn't even a work related thing. This, I kid you not. We were standing in a line at an estate sale and we were just chatting while we were waiting. And she said she worked for a school district. And she said, "Oh, school districts are the worst." And then she said, I also used to work in healthcare. They were bad too. And I was like, if I keep talking to her, she'll tell me about every other industry, profession she's been in. And I'm thinking to myself, see, she just has it out for HR. She's not even looking at the other side. Could there be another side? Right? But I also think that if it starts with, quote, me, role modeling, speaking up, making it explicit, it also is inviting people. But then that means we have to listen. And if you're someone who, give me emoji, ever finish someone's sentence for them? Do you interrupt people? Have you ever rolled your eyes? Have you ever done the heavy sigh with someone? I mean, be honest. I know I've been guilty from time to time. It's like, oh, God, don't do that. I try really hard to just have a poker face, right? Yeah, Robin. I think we've all perhaps done something. So then what is it that's your thing that you've done that you've got to stop doing, right? Many times we've gone to a program and it's like, what's the thing you need to start doing? What's the thing you need to stop doing? What's the thing you need to continue to do more of, right? Sarah, right? We're really comfortable with family. We can get away with a lot of things with family. And yet, you know what? That's the place we probably really could start doing it. And it might be a lot easier to practice on family, right? So listen, listen, listen. Which, and being able to, what's our guidelines? What's our ground rules, right? What's the norms for how we handle when we oops? So, and this isn't, as you can see, this isn't my list. This is a list from the Center of Creative Leadership. They put this together, right? But then creating a space for good ideas, inviting everybody, giving everybody who's at the table, in the circle, at the meeting, a chance to participate, putting it on the agenda that we're going to ask for ideas. And that way they know 3 days in advance that it's on there and everybody can be thinking about it. Because one of the other things is that sometimes people need time. So if we just all of a sudden start asking for ideas, people who haven't had a chance to like let it ruminate, to let those wheels turn, right? And let's face it, we've all had conflict, we've had differences of opinion, different viewpoints. Instead of shying away from that, embrace the fact that we will have that. It might be challenging from time to time. How do we professionally, respectfully disagree? Because we can have productive conflict. I can give you 2 slides on productive conflict. We can have destructive and we can have productive. And we want to focus on that, the productive part, right? So we can talk about the importance of creating the safety in our workplace, connecting it to a higher purpose, to promoting for greater organizational success, right? Innovation, team, team engagement, a sense of inclusion and belonging. What's the bigger why out of all of this? So model the behaviors that we want to see, right? So if we ask open-ended questions, and that can even be sharing the oopses, right? That's being transparent. That's being vulnerable. I think that's a good thing. I think those are learnings, right? We make a mistake, we own it. So being candid with people, asking for help when needed. Asking for help says I'm strong enough to admit when I don't know something or need some assistance or I'm still learning about something, right? So when we think about having positive interactions, what can that look like? And I think this is the way we do things around here, right? It could be negative, this is the way we do things, or it can be more, hey, we all have a role to play. This is how we help each other be successful. This is how we do things around here. Because if we can see things more clearly, right, participate in conversations, leadership is being responsive and listening and being able to acknowledge that people are willing to take risks. But the bad news is kind of like welcomed. And what I mean by that is it's better to hear things than for people to hide things. It's better to address them and work through them, right? Then that also means that we're sharing feedback with each other and we're doing that together. And it's understanding not every day is going to be easy peasy, but that we're taking the time to surface concerns, to bring these things together, to surface them and address them so we can talk about them, we can name them, so we can have honest conversations, that we're telling people we value you and your observations, your experience, your past experience, right? We value what you bring to the table and we're listening to all of it because we can take bits and pieces of things and bring something together as a whole. So why wouldn't we want to do more of that so that we can, well, think better? And we can, again, if we want employees to behave better, wouldn't this be part of this? And I'm just saying, depending on who you are and what your role is, this is the main premise of coaching, coaching employees and getting away from these kinds of statements. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm afraid to ask. I just keep my head down and keep working. I don't think this is what we're talking about, or even any of these statements. This is defeatist. This is lack of engagement. These are people who are going to walk out the door. I think we want more from folks. We can do better, right? And I don't think for you that you have to fix everything, that you have to get it right, that you can't disappoint anybody, that you have to figure it out. I don't think this is on you. I think this is on the many, right? The needs of the many. And so if you think about it kind of big picture, and apparently I have a little bit of a spacing challenge here. This is on thought awareness, thought intelligence, right? So we have to stop what ifing and start like the what ifing yourself in a positive way in some fashion or another, right? So I'm wondering if something here kind of resonated with you, for you, something that you can take back and start working on for the organization, maybe a particular department, maybe an individual, and maybe just start with the family, right? So does anybody want to share in the chat or maybe unmute yourself? Something to start working on, something to share from the material in some fashion that's good for you or good for the organization? A takeaway? Ah, fostering psychological safety as a part of risk management, right? A, is it an element of like pre-loss beforehand, right? Being proactive. Okay, good. Like it. Anybody else? A positive stance in helping them see the actual answer for themselves, right? So not having to say no. Yeah, be the yes police, Sonia. Just say yes. First of all, you might shock the holy bejeezers out of them. They'll be like, what? I didn't expect that, right? Well, and again, I will send you a copy of the PowerPoint, and so you can share it with others, and feel free to do so. I'm happy to provide that to you. I get you, Sonia. Yeah, I want you to be careful with your yeses, right? I'm sure a lot of us in HR get tired of saying no all the time. we're tired of the reputation that all we'd ever do is say no, because that's not really it. Sometimes it's the way the question is asked. Um, but part of that also is, I think sometimes what happens is, in all sincerity, and I get that many of you might be a department of one, um, or you're very small in terms of a department size, and you are juggling a lot all the time, and that it takes time to educate your managers and supervisors, and that there's a lot of things to consider, that not one single situation is always going to be the same as every other, that we need to take certain things into consideration. And so I do understand that. And while I'm not the practicing every day inside an organization like you are, I do believe if we educate them as to like certain questions to ask or to think about, or why this would be important, so that they understand kind of where the red flags are, that they would come to you maybe a little bit less often, or that they would think about some things first, coming to you saying, this is what I really want to do. My concern is that there's this stumbling block or this hurdle or this barrier. And so I've thought about those things first, and I have a response here and here. And if I know you well enough, HR person, you're going to tell me this, and I have a response to that. And yes, I have documented here, and I have had that conversation here. I still want to do this. Is there a way, path forward where we can get there? Can we talk about that? As opposed to, this person has got to go. I have had it with them. We're done. And the answer is, have you had a conversation? Have you documented? Does the employee know there's a concern? And they're like, they should know all that by now. Like, so you haven't talked? And the answer is, can we educate them about how, wouldn't it be lovely, and maybe not, so forgive me, wouldn't it be lovely if we could put them in our seat for like a week and experience all the things that we have to go through, so that they could understand more? And so I know that it could be a little finesse going on. How much education are we providing some of our managers and supervisors to understand some of those things, because they are our risk management piece. They are the eyes and ears of the organization. They're on the front lines. They need to help protect the organization, but they're also protecting their backside, believe it or not. And they need to understand where those risks are. So some of that is their education, and there's a need. And part of that is understanding they're like the number one person in an employee's work life. Do they understand what an important role and opportunity that is? People look up to these people. People will remember them for a very long time. And that can be a very positive, or don't ever want to work for that person again. Right? And so I don't know that we have to explain every time, but you might think about where have been the repeated situations, or things that we're trying, what where have been the trouble spots, so that we can educate people. And what words or what phrases, what do you want supervisors to be saying? Um, and asking them to see things from another way in their role and responsibility, because they actually can be of great help. HR should be seen as a partner. I say should be seen. I would hope that they would see. I would like them to see HR as a partner. We're not a negative. It's not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. I might actually send out a supplemental piece that says, these are the things that belong to supervisors, these are the things that belong to HR, and it might be a great talking piece for some of you. I might just take the liberty to do that, and you guys do with, excuse me, do with it as you will. It's been a quite the generator piece when I've written articles or blog posts about it and people go, "What?" So I'll just add that. You guys do what you want with it. Keep it, don't keep it. But yeah, I'll add that. So questions? I know we're a little over time. I appreciate you hanging in there. Those of you that have, those of you who are listening on demand later, maybe I went a little rogue there at the end. Um, but I'm happy to hang out, be the last person in the room if you have questions. Um, Otherwise, I think I have a note on here. No, I don't, about what our next topic is. Um, so do I know? Oh, I do know. September. We actually are going to have a guest. Um, Greg. What is Greg's last name? I might not be remembering off the top of my head. However, he is from OSHA. Now, please don't be scared. He is not on the reporting side, he's on the education side, and he's going to dispel some of the myths that people have, but he's also going to educate us on how we can utilize, yes, utilize OSHA to aid and assist. Um, because after COVID, they kind of got knocked down a little bit because people understandably didn't want to see them, and yet at the same time, necessary. But he's got some good stuff to share, and I've invited him to come and hang out with us. So, of course, I'll put that out there in all the places that I normally do. So that's what's coming up in September. And then we have personality styles in November. And Tiffany's going to come and talk to us in October. Is that right? Some configuration thereof. So stay tuned. We've got some good stuff coming your way. So thank you so much for joining us and being here. Glad you were. Appreciate your time. Have a good rest of the month. And stay out of the heat and don't breathe too deeply with the smoke. And I value and appreciate you. Glad that you were here and enjoy. And I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Unless you're sticking around for other questions or whatnot, I'll be the last one in the room. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. Looks like that's the end. Those of you who are watching later on demand, again, thank you for participating with us and taking the opportunity to watch at a later date or to listen. I value and appreciate that very much. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. My information is on the front slide, and as someone who's watching later, please make sure that you let us know if you'd like to have a copy of the slides. I typically send those out to people who registered and attended. So since you're getting this after the fact, if you'd like those, you're more than welcome to. Just let me know. I'm happy to share. Otherwise, hope to see you at another HR Lunch Bunch in the future. Take care.